Citroen, the marque who are simultaneously capable of making suspension so smooth that even Rolls-Royce of all brands would end up licensing it for use in their cars, but simultaneously design cars which you would probably not even look twice at. Occasionally they'll have a banger like a Citroen DS or an SM, but most of the time, especially as you move forward in time, Citroens aren't exactly renowned for being the best looking of cars. They have their fans, they are oddball, and sometimes they are eye-catching. It tends to sell well, but kind of in a Toyota Corolla kind of way. It's a car that serves its purpose well, but it's not exactly a vehicle which many people would aspire to own. And I'm sure there will be 3 people, maybe 4 even, who would say, oh, I always dreamed of having a Citroen BX, because every car has that group of people. But the fact remains that this is technically a debut for Citroen within Gran Turismo, and it's a car which simultaneously really no one was asking for. As I mentioned before in my overarching review of 1.60, you could easily make a case. In fact, a case which, let's be honest, would be hard to argue against, for adding something like a 4TC version of this car instead. The Renault 5, where we do have the road version E30 M3, 190e, Sierra, so it would fit right in. And although this Citroen wasn't particularly successful at all really, in road-going form or rally form for that matter, it's still a pretty cool car to have as a homologation special, almost like a Golf G60 Rally-esque, which wasn't a particularly powerful car either, but it's still a very cool one. But of course, that's not what we got. We got the 1987 Citroen BX19 TRS. Spicy. With some interesting visual upgrades, if your idea of interesting is a fancy coloured cardboard box, in which case you'll probably think it's quite a good looking car. Now, in terms of its standard spec, it's 30 grand to buy, of course, from the used dealer, 357 points, so it is actually the lowest ranked car in terms of points out of all 3, even lower than the Peugeot Soft Roader, which isn't exactly a great start, but being a classic, of course, it does have some saving graces, one of the main ones being its weight. It is nice and light. It weighs less than a metric ton at 995 kilos, only has 103 horsepower to work with, but to be fair, you can tune it beyond 200 horses pretty easily, even without needing a motor swap. Where things get a bit better though is, again, as I alluded to in my overarching thoughts on Thursday, because you're not expecting much from this car, or in many cases probably don't care for the car at all. I would imagine that's probably the case for quite a number of younger, more recent players who have no nostalgia for a car like this, because let's be honest, a lot of why people love these kind of cars is that nostalgia. You might have grown up with the car, you wanted one at the time, maybe you knew someone, had a good experience in the car, some story to tell, and nostalgia plays a big role, of course, even down to things like which Gran Turismo game is our favourite, let alone which cars are our favourites. So for those who don't have that kind of nostalgia, a car like this could just come off as some ratty box, and with 103 horsepower, it doesn't seem like there's really anything to write home about. And of course, that presents us with another problem. As I said earlier on, Citroen is known for certain things. High performance isn't necessarily one of them. Again, not to say that they're not capable of high performance, just occasionally you'll see a quick Citroen, such as the GT by Citroen, but generally speaking they're known more for style, they're known for quirks, they're known for gimmicks, they're known for forward-thinking tech, and they're known, I would argue, above all else, for being essentially like the most comfortable French car you can buy. The problem is, as I've said before about certain other vehicles, most of those things are completely irrelevant in a racing game. If it happens to be good for performance, well, that is of course all that really matters, because you're driving the car in races at the end of the day, and the vast majority of people don't just jump into a game for the sake of driving a car. Some, like myself, I know some of you do as well because we've spoken about it in various comments and videos, but the vast majority of people in the current sphere of Gran Turismo do seem to really enjoy online racing. So a car kind of has to be good for that, at least to some degree, otherwise it's going to be used maybe once or twice and probably never again for many players. And unfortunately, many people don't want to hear that, but that's kind of just a fact. Think of how many cars have been added and how many of them do you regularly go back to, beyond vehicles that you just use for seasonal events. For me, for example, I use the Aston Martin Valkyrie probably more than any other car that was added in an update. And is that because I love the Valkyrie? No, in real life I have next to no interest in the car, but in the game it's like a Tommy Car ZZ2. It's just that car. It's so undeniably good, so ridiculously good in fact, you can't not use it. This one, well, I guess spoiler alert, but it's not like you were expecting to hear this anyway, it's not an OP car. It's good in its own little way, and for lower class racing it is a lot of fun. Of course, front wheel drive chassis, so you can chuck it around a bit more, but it's a bit longer, doesn't quite feel as sharp as some of the other classics. Even the Peugeot 205 GTI, for example, has that advantage there. It's light anyway, it's also a hot hatch to begin with, so it, of course, immediately feels more nimble. This one, a lot of what makes it good and a lot of what makes it nostalgic or beloved is, as I said, completely irrelevant in a game. So this has to be able to stand on its own merit when it comes to said performance. The simple fact is, although it is a pleasantly surprising car to drive and it can be capable of winning certain events, it's not going to be a car which I would say is an essential purchase for many players. Thankfully it's cheap, so you can, fart out 30 grand in 30 seconds basically in this game. If you're on the fence about coming back to Gran Turismo, this is unfortunately yet another month where I would say you can just skip it, maybe wait until a couple of months come together, download it all at once, and then kind of view it as almost a bigger update. Then you'll have like 9 career mode events to do, you'll have 9 new cars, or 10, or however many were added on each particular set of months, and maybe if you're lucky, if you time it right, a new circuit, although not so much recently. It's a pleasant enough little classic. It is significant for Citroen as a brand, but for players who don't have that kind of nostalgic connection to the car, I don't know how many people this one's really going to win over. I could see something like a Citroen DS, to be honest, winning more people over because it is such a style icon and it is one of the most legendary cars from the brand. This, although significant to Citroen, just isn't on that same level. And as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I personally believe something like a Citroen SM would have been a better choice. It has more performance, it's already got the Maserati engine, it has a similar styling to the DS, so it's more iconic. I just think it would have been a better option. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, and of course I'll see you tomorrow for the final review of the 3 main ones. It has been suggested to me as well to maybe re-review the Nismo GTR LM now that it's been changed, so would you like to see that? I would be curious to know how many would be interested to see, again maybe if you haven't logged back into the game, how different it feels. So let me know about that. Of course, as I said, I'll see you with the Peugeot tomorrow, and thanks for watching.